porque a veces pide...
Hola, buenos días. Bienvenidas a un webinar más de Mujeres Conecta Américas. Les voy a pedir 3 minuticos de espera mientras esperamos que más participantes se conecten y ya damos inicio a nuestro evento de hoy.
So good morning. Welcome all again to our Connect America seminar. We're going to give 3 minutes for the rest of the people to come in. Thank you very much.
Bueno, ahora sí, ya tenemos casi 60 participantes conectadas en nuestro evento del día de hoy. Entonces, quiero dar
Very well. So now we have around 60 participants in today's event. So I want to welcome you all. Give me a moment, please.
Tengo mi canal de portugués activado, un segundo.
Sorry, I have my Portuguese channel activated. Okay. So sorry, I had the Portuguese channel on, so I was listening myself twice. So welcome. Good morning. Happy Tuesday for everybody. So once again, we have a very important session of the topic of digital transformation. And today we are going to see technologies that can support the optimization of processes in companies and in particular in SMEs. This session takes place thanks to a strategic partner of the program Growing Together in the Americas and Connect America's Women, that is Microsoft. Microsoft has brought a very special guest and who is very knowledgeable about this topic. He is Ciro Montañez. He is data scientist in Microsoft. He has several years experience working in data topics and performing statistical analysis and creating machine learning models. He has worked in different sectors of technology, such as edtech that has to do with education and banks and even the industry of insurance. And he's going to be accompanying us today. We're going to see different tools that are going to help you all. We're going to have a practical component today that's going to be very interesting. We're going to leave the links in the chat, and any question you have, you can also leave it on the Q&A. Ciro is going to take some minutes in the end of the session to respond to them, as always. And remember, you have the option of interpretation to English and Portuguese. You just have to go to the lower controls at the bottom part of the screen, and you choose the icon of interpretation and choose the language you want to listen in. And before tossing the baton to Ciro, I want to greet warmly all our participants of the program Growing Together in the Americas. Welcome to this session. This session is also part of our program. And without saying anything else, I welcome Ciro. Ciro, good morning. Thanks for being here and sharing your knowledge with our network of entrepreneurs that is located in all the region of Latin America and the Caribbean. Good morning, Daniela. Good morning, everybody. I am very happy to share the knowledges about how my team works in Microsoft. And I wanted to tell you that when I was reflecting upon which tools we use in my team, I thought in those tools that are not necessarily of my specific area, that is data analysis, but that we use for day-to-day work in order to communicate within the team, in order to organize files and share files, and to take account of the different tasks that everybody is developing in the team to follow up and track. So I thought about sharing these powerful tools that are also general, and that by which I mean that they can help very different teams of very different areas. It does not have to be an engineering team. It can be, for example, the financing area, the product design area, the human resources area, the client, the customer service area or contact area. That can be the tools of the Microsoft suite, sorry, to help with the processes and to do things less manual, to make things less manual and to promote a fluent communication within the team. So I work from Colombia and I work for a remote team. So a key tool that I'm going to mention has to do with communication. Another key tool is going to be collaboration through files. And I also want to show you how all the team knows what everybody's working in. So I'm going to share my screen.
Por favor, me cuentan.
Okay, good. So please let me know if it's already shared. Not yet. We're not seeing it yet. Okay, so let me check.
Creo que no estoy recibiendo ningún mensaje.
I think I'm not receiving any message.
Sí, qué raro. Qué raro porque le estoy dando a compartir.
This is weird because I am
Pregunta. Ah,
trying to
no
share the
dejaste de
whole screen.
compartir.
Oh,
No
maybe
dejaste de compartir.
you already stopped sharing. Yes.
Compartir toda la pantalla.
So share all the screen.
A ver, voy a intentar otra cosa.
I'm gonna try something different.
Tenemos muy buena audiencia el día de hoy. Eso me parece fantástico. Ya vamos en más de
We have a
80.
very good audience today. That's fantastic. We have more than 80 people connected. We are about to begin. Ciro is checking how he can share his
No se ha
screen.
movido de nada todavía.
You have not lost any important content yet. We have just introduced ourselves. So can we see it?
No la veo todavía en mi
No, I
carpeta.
don't see it yet.
Estoy teniendo problemas con internet.
I think my internet is having
Estoy
problems.
teniendo problemas con mi internet. Entonces, déjame. Me voy a
Yes, I'm having
conectar
problem with my
nuevamente.
internet.
¿Listo?
I'm going to reload. I might drop out for a while and drop in later on.
Ah, sí, ya te la acabo de
Okay,
enviar.
I just sent it to you
Ya te digo, hace unos minuticos.
some minutes ago.
Ya te confirmo a qué horas. Sí, yo te la envié en el correo que decía presentación Ciro Montañez.
Aquí está. ¿Me confirman
Sí.
si la pueden ver?
Okay, this is the one. Can you
Bueno,
please
entonces
confirm if you
esta
can
es
see
la
it?
agenda que tengo preparada. La idea
This is
es
the
hablar
agenda I have prepared for today. The idea is to talk about
después de
productivity
toda la
tools.
habla, voy a estar hablando de
So
tres
throughout the
temas.
speech, I'm going to
Uno
be
de ellos es el uso de Teams
talking
y
about three
SharePoint para
examples. One is the
comunicación
use
y
of
organización.
Teams and SharePoint for communication
El
and
segundo es el
organization.
uso de
The next
Power
one is the
Automate
use of
para
Power
automatización
Automate
de
for
tareas.
task
Y
automatization or
básicamente un
automation.
ejemplo introductorio
A
es la
specific
generación de
introductory
notificaciones.
example is to generate
Eso sucede
notifications. So
sucede
when
algo.
something happens, for example, somebody
Todo el
creates a
mundo ya
file,
automáticamente
the
sabe que
rest of the
y el
team
siguiente es el uso de
knows about it. And the
proyectos
third example
para
is
manejar
the use of
proyectos.
project for project
Y
management.
el último
And
slide
the last slide
que luego a través
that
de Daniela les voy a
through
mostrar
Daniela
es
we
simplemente unos
can share
tutoriales que se pueden usar
are the
para
tutorials
aprender
that
a
can be
fondo
used in
sobre
order
estos temas.
to learn more in depth about these
Eh,
tools.
ahora sí debo compartirles la pantalla, entonces
Now
déjame
I
concentrar
must share my screen. Let me
a recargar
uh, drop out for a
mi
minute and I will drop in again in order to reload my Zoom.
termino compartir la pantalla.
Creo que sí. Ya estamos llegando casi a 100
Very good. We are almost reaching 100 participants connected. This is great.
Muchas gracias a todas por estar
Thanks a lot for being here. I see a lot of the participants of Growing Together in the Americas. Welcome. Thank you for being here. And here we are taking a look at the tools that we will be exploring today with Ciro, the tools for collaborative work, for maintaining communication within different teams, regardless if you are part of a technology team or if your company is based on technology or not. These tools are useful for all the companies in this moment.
Voy a
Okay,
dejar
I'm
acá
back.
este video
So
y
I'm
me
gonna
aconsejan que puede
turn my video off to see if this can improve my connection. So you can hear me there, can't you? Yes, we can. Good, so I'm gonna try to share my screen again.
Creo que ya me está avisando que algo se está compartiendo.
Something seems to be shared today.
Ya, listo. Súper. Bueno, entonces retomo. Primero vamos a hablar de Teams y
Okay,
SharePoint
so we are
para
gonna talk about Teams and
la
SharePoint
organización.
for
Luego
communication within the organization. Can you put it in presentation mode? Yes.
creo que no me lo está tomando. Ahí se ve mejor.
You see it better there. We're seeing. Okay, there you go.
Sí. Entonces,
There you go.
Teams y
So,
SharePoint para
Teams and
communicación,
SharePoint for
Power Automate
organizational communication and Power Automate for task automatization and Project for project management. These are the three examples. So from here on, the presentation is less important, and I'm gonna begin to demonstrate how we work in our team with the tools.
Listo. Entonces, para empezar, quiero que me digan si están viendo mi Teams.
So please let me know if you're seeing my teams.
Listo, sí. Entonces, en este Teams, en la parte de la izquierda tengo muchos equipos.
So here on the left, I have many teams to which I belong. One of those teams is called Productivity Learning, that is here below. And this team just has two channels. Every team has channels, and this one has two channels. One that is called general and another one that I created, specific one that is called notifications. A team helps to gather people who are going to be working in projects and who needs to share information. And something very useful of teams about teams is that besides having this posts tab, that is a tab where one can just chat with everybody else. For example, here I just greeted and somebody from my team can respond. It also allows us to have other tabs associated with the team, such as files. So here within this tab, you can create new files. For example, I can create a new Word document without having to come out of Teams. It's all integrated. And this is why Teams, besides being useful for communication, is also useful for organizing the whole content of the team. For example, here I can create a document called contract number 1, and this file is created and it is already associated to the team. So any person could come to this team and go to the specific channel and find the files that are shared there without a need to go explicitly to other tools that maybe some already know, that are Drive or SharePoint. In fact, if here I provide the option of copying the link, or I just copy the link and I copy it, if I go to the web service, I can go into the page of this team. And this is going to be a SharePoint page that's going to have all the files here. Of course, here we can create folders. And is everybody seeing the screen?
Sí, bueno, sí.
Well, yeah, I can see it. Okay, somebody wrote it in the chat. Um,
En un equipo,
so I can have all the files organized in a team and everything will be integrated from Teams. So I just wanted to show you a little bit how these teams are created. It's very easy.
tú le puedes dar,
You can, within Teams, you can
puedes unirte o crear un equipo.
join or create a team
Normalmente,
down here.
si te vas a unir a un equipo que ya creó alguien, lo que
So
haces es
if you're going to join a team that's already created, what you do is to enter a code
que esa
here
persona
that
te comparte.
the person shared
Pero si tú vas a crear
to
el
you.
equipo desde cero,
Or if you are going to create a team from scratch, you can just do it here.
hay varias opciones. Yo voy a usar
There
esta que
are
tú
several options. I'm going to use a very easy one here
solo voy a estar yo.
because in this team, it's just going to be me for now.
Entonces, voy a crear un equipo.
So
Le
I'm
doy
gonna create a team.
nombre.
I'm gonna assign a name.
Puedo darle una descripción.
I can also write down a description
Y lo creo.
and I create it.
Aquí en este paso puedo agregar
Here on this step,
miembros.
I
Estos
can
miembros deben
add
estar
members who
normalmente en la misma organización. Porque cuando yo
must be
empiezo a
normally
crear
on the same organization because when I start
la
to write a
organización,
name,
busca todos
the
los que hacen
organization
match.
seeks
Y
for
solo
all
voy
the
a hacer
names that match.
solo voy a hacer un check.
So for now, it's just gonna be me.
Eh, bueno, claro, como yo fui el que
Good.
creé, no
And
me debo añadir. Entonces, por
given
acá.
that I was the one who created it, I should not add myself.
Y ya pueden ver que se creó acá.
And here you can see that it was already created.
Esto genera un channel
Creating a team always
por defecto que se llama general.
generates a channel by
Y se
default that is called general.
chatea
And as I told you, in this channel, we can chat
y discutir temas.
and discuss
Y siempre crea
topics.
por defecto
And it always creates
tab
by default a
llamado files,
tab
que
called
es
files.
donde
That
podemos
is, as I showed you before,
crear
where
los
we
archivos
can
que van a estar
create the
organizados
files that are
para
going to be
ese equipo en específico.
already organized for this team in particular.
Listo, entonces sí, acá,
Good.
por ejemplo, puedo
So
crear un
here,
nuevo folder
for example, I can create a new folder to organize,
y puedo empezar a crear.
and I can begin to create files. So for now, I'm going to leave it here.
Esto sería la
And
manera de
this would be
crear
the
un equipo
way
nuevo
to create a new team
y de empezar a crear archivos
and to
asociados a ese
begin
equipo.
to create
Adicionalmente,
files associated to
se
that
pueden
team.
crear canales que
Additionally,
son como foros de
you can
discusión sobre
create
temas
channels that
específicos.
are kind of discussion forums about specific topics.
Entonces, para eso uno le puede
And
dar
for
tres
this,
punticos que
we can
normalmente
click
después
on
de
the three dots. Usually these three
son
dots in the app
menús que dan más opciones
are menus that
y
offer
ese
more
punto al
options.
final
So here I'm going
puede
to
ser un
create a
channel
channel
no para discutir
that is
sobre
gonna
un tema
be
específico,
is not gonna be for general discussion, but for notifications.
y lo agregué.
And I add it.
Entonces, esto de canales sirve para
So
que dentro del
channels
equipo
are
las
useful
discusiones estén
in
separadas
order for
por
discussions
afinidad
within a
del tema.
team to be separated by topics or
Listo.
topic
Entonces, hasta
affinity.
ahí vamos
Good. So
con la parte de Teams. Y yo me voy a copiar
this where
en productividad.
we come up to here in Teams. I'm gonna,
Como les contaba,
as I told you,
yo veía
these
una
files, and I saw
en el chat que va a estar
a question in the chat that is going to be associated to this. These files are actually not saved in Teams, but Teams is connected or integrated with SharePoint. That is another service of the Microsoft Cloud where you can create pages such as an intranet and save files also. In order to go to that web route where those files that are associated to the teams are saved, you can copy the file from the share option. We are copying it there, and I bring it here. This is my SharePoint page where all of the files that I created are going to be saved and are associated to the teams. How can we realize that they are associated to the team? Because we have the name of the team here. It comes from Teams and it's a team called Productivity. So here we finished the first part, that is how can I create a team from Teams, and from there organize all of my files, and all of them are going to be integrated. Second part, we're going to go to Power Automate. This is an app that enables us to automate processes. What kind of processes? For example, information exchange, creation of files, erasing files, sending notifications when something happens, such as, for example, if I receive an email, but it turns out to be that I want to have more effectiveness in communication, I can say that new email notified on my Teams channel, that is the chat that I have open daily all the time, so I can be more aware of what I'm receiving, and I can make importance filters. So I can say I want to be notified only when the emails that I receive are my manager's emails. So Power Automate can help us do many of these things, which are flows. And they are flows, they're called flows because they work in the following way. They have something that in English is called a trigger. That is what generates or causes that something else happens. So if this condition is complied with, then another action will happen. And the way that you're going to find in the tutorials, also the easiest way to begin to use these flows is using the templates. So according to the template, this tool is able to, according to the format that I choose, this tool is able to, or Power Automate is able to connect two or more apps. For example, it's going to be able to connect Teams and the email, and is going to it's going to be able to connect, for example, tweets with email. So for example, if somebody has Twitter and some tweets that they are interested about, in this app connects them, so they will have those tweets on their email. It can also connect Gmail, that is the Google email service, with Dropbox, that is a storage service for files offered by Dropbox. So for this example, I wanted to show how to create a notification. So for example, I can say that when somebody creates a file in the SharePoint of my team, something happens and it notifies that to me in Teams. So for this, we can seek for the templates or the formats that we are going to use. So an option is to put one of these apps in which I'm interested. So here we begin to find all the options that are able to connect with Teams. There are several ones, as I told you before. And for example, I'm interested in this one. It says in Spanish, to alert the team when specific documents are uploaded to the SharePoint of the team. So when you click on that template or format in Spanish, or automate says this flow will connect to applications, Microsoft Team and SharePoint. And in fact, it also includes my email that I'm already logged in. It says that I'm already logged in those apps with my user that is that email. And given that it's all integrated, it just happens in an automated manner. So I hit on continue. We must wait for a while for the information to upload.
Entonces ya me empieza a salir como unos cuadritos
So
que
I will start to see boxes that are going to be about three things. The first thing is the trigger.
como aquello que hace que algo suceda, como el generador de algo. Alguien me dice, sí, como un disparador o un gatillo, exacto. El detonante, exacto. Entonces el trigger, el detonante o el
So
disparador.
the trigger
eh,
is always going to do it first.
puede haber condiciones.
We can have
Puede haber
conditions
condiciones que son esas cosas que me dicen como, bueno,
that are
sucede
the
lo que sea,
things that say the trigger happens,
yo quiero hacer como el
but
filtro, yo quiero que no siempre,
I'm going to make a
que no se
filter.
dispare para todos
I'm
los
going to
casos,
create a
para todas
filter
las
because I do
circunstancias.
not want it to be
Por ejemplo, la
triggered for
condición
every case, but for specific cases. For
exacto.
example, the condition to be complied
Si se
with.
cumple la
That
condición,
side dimensions in the chat. And if the condition is complied
entonces
with,
podría también
I
tomar
can
decisiones.
also
Un ejemplo
add
sencillo,
an
no voy a
another
poner
condition or an
la
action. In
condición.
this specific example, I'm not going to put any
Entonces,
action.
sigo las instrucciones. Entonces,
So
recuerden
I
que mi
follow the
problema
instructions.
es,
So remember that my problem is I want that the team
cuando alguien sube un
knows
archivo o sube un archivo
when anybody creates or uploads a file
al SharePoint del equipo.
to the SharePoint of the
Entonces, aquí
teams
me
of
dice,
the team. I wanted to know via Teams
cuando un
that
archivo
this
es
takes
creado
place. So here it says
y
when a
tiene
file is created
el
and it
asterisco rojo
asks for certain
como
conditions. So the red asterisk,
compulsory,
as it's usual in internet formats,
entonces
means that it is
yo
a
debo
compulsory field. So
revisar
here I must write the site address,
de la página de SharePoint,
which is the SharePoint website
la cual quiero estar revisando si alguien sube un
URL
archivo.
that I should be checking
Entonces
to
yo aquí
see
puedo
if
meter,
a file is uploaded.
tienen
So
todas
here I find
que ya están
many
cargadas.
URLs or websites that are
Entonces,
already
yo
uploaded. But here I want to show you
algo
how we
personalizado. Entonces acá
use a
yo voy a la
personalized
página de
value. So
SharePoint
here I go to my
y voy a
SharePoint
buscar
site and I must
la parte raíz de esa página.
copy the root of the URL address of this page, which is up to here. I copy it and I paste it over here.
Productividad.
Productivity.
Entonces, el nombre de
So
la librería
the name of the library
y es
is
donde se
documents
almacenan los,
because
se guardan los documentos.
it is where the files are saved on a SharePoint
Aquí podría
page.
yo decir como un
And
nombre
here
específico,
I could name a
pero
specific
por simplicidad,
folder if I wished,
en
but
un ejemplo improvisado,
for
voy a dejarlo así.
simplicity's sake,
Eso me
for this
sirve
example, I'm gonna
cuando se
leave it
roba un archivo.
in blank so I get notified anywhere,
Listo,
anytime a
entonces vamos
file
a la
is
condición.
uploaded,
La condición es que
regardless of
ustedes
the
pueden ver
folder. So now let's move on to the
el
condition.
nombre
As you can see, it
y el
says
logo.
name over here and it has a logo. So
Esto
this is the
quiere decir
SharePoint
que la
logo.
condición
So this is
es
because it's
que
about
ya la persona
conditions that
notificada ha llegado.
SharePoint will already
Yo le
help
hago
us
clic
fill up. So if
me
I
sale
click
algo que se
here,
llama
I
Dynamic
find something
Content.
that is called dynamic
Entonces la
content.
Dynamic Content
So in
son
dynamic
los
content,
valores que
we
SharePoint
find the values that
automáticamente
SharePoint
hace
and
saber
Power
por defecto.
Automate already lets me choose by default,
Él automáticamente va a
and
ser capaz de
the
extraer estos
program
valores de los
will
archivos.
be able to share these values
Por
from the
ejemplo,
files
en vez
in
de
an
ponerle
automated manner. So for example, instead of name,
yo le voy
I
a
can
decir
choose
modified by email. Esto
modified
significa
by
cualquier
email. And this
archivo
means that
que
any
sea
file
modificado
that has been modified
por alguna
by
por algún email en específico,
any email in particular
notifíqueme. Entonces, en este caso,
will
yo, por ejemplo,
the program will notify me about it.
que
So
este,
for example,
que este es mi email, mi
this is
email
my
tiene
email. My
mi
email
nombre.
has my name.
Entonces va a ser que si ese
So
archivo que se
this,
descargó sea un
if
archivo
the
que
file that is
sea
uploaded was a
modificado
file that was
por
created
alguien
or
que
modified by
tenga
somebody whose email
el nombre Ciro
has
por dentro,
the name
entonces a él
Ciro
se genera la notificación.
included, then the
Entonces este
notice
es el
is going to be
filtro
generated
que
or
yo
the
le digo. Yo
notification.
quiero que me
So this is a
notifique todo
filter that
sin
is the
notificación.
condition to be complied with.
Y
I
este
don't
archivo
want it to notify
o
everything,
filtro
but just some
va a
things.
ser que
And there are many options
tenga
here when the
cierta
description of the
descripción,
file is certain description, or
cuando haya cierto tipo de
when
sensitivity es como
there is certain
el
kind
file
of
es confidencial o
sensitivity.
confidencial,
For example, if the file is confidential or not
ciertos requisitos,
confidential.
entonces se genere la notificación.
So when this condition is complied with,
Listo, entonces por ahora quedó
the
bien. Y
notification or
luego
notice is
a este
generated.
equipo,
And I'm gonna
voy a decirlo que el que haga el post sea eh,
I'm gonna
robot,
tell the program that
robot.
the post should be
Y yo quiero que me lo ponga
generated by a robot that is called Flowbot.
en
And
el final,
I'm gonna
¿cierto?
tell tell the program that I want it to put the
Todo el
notice
tiempo.
in a specific channel. Then I choose the team.
Me sale, ya, aquí sale el equipo
Here I
productividad.
find the team that I just created
Y
called
recuerden que yo
productivity.
había creado un canal
And
de
remember, I had
notificaciones como para
created
tener todo
a
separado. Lo
notifications
voy a
channel
escribir
in order
aquí.
to keep everything separated. And here I can choose the
Y el
channel.
mensaje,
And the message,
yo lo puedo,
I can
entonces yo puedo decir
edit the message.
se ha creado
So I can say
el archivo
that the file
mm,
has been created.
y le pongo aquí
And here I
una
put
variable que sea el nombre del
a
archivo
variable that can be the name of the file
en la ruta
on in the root
path,
or in the route or the path
en esta ruta, ¿sí?
in this path.
Entonces estas tarjetitas que son variables
So
me
these cards that
ayudarán
are variable will
a
help
crear
me
un mensaje que tenga
to
contenido dinámico.
create a message that has dynamic content.
Listo, entonces ya vamos a dejarlo así.
Good.
Voy a ponerle aquí guardar.
So we're gonna leave it like this. I'm gonna
Vamos a
save
verificar que
it,
esté bien.
and we hope that everything is okay. We wait for a while to
Listo,
check that
entonces
everything is
ya
okay.
está listo.
So it says up here that your flow is ready to go. We recommend you to test it.
Aquí también, en este
And
simulacro
here,
de, ¿cómo se llama esta herramienta de los doctores? Como para
how do we call
para
this
escuchar el corazón y eso.
tool of the
Ese es como
doctors?
asegurar
This is
que
like
está,
that,
estetoscopio me dicen por acá.
the
Ese
stethoscopy.
es como para mirar si
So
el
this
flow
is
presenta algunos errores, algunos
see if
advertencias.
there's any
Por ahora pareciera que todo está bien.
mistakes or
Voy a
alarms.
guardarlo de nuevo.
So it seems that everything is okay
Ya
here.
está listo
I'm gonna
para,
save it again. It
para
says
funcionar.
that it's ready to
Eh,
operate.
entonces me voy a ir acá
So I'm gonna see now.
a subir un archivo.
I'm gonna upload a file to see how it works.
Entonces aquí estoy. Creo que no me lo tomó. Déjame ver.
I think it didn't take it.
Ah, sí, sí me lo tomó.
Okay, yes,
Entonces aquí acaba de subir
it's
este
here.
archivo
So this file is just uploaded
hace pocos segundos.
some few
Dice
seconds
que
ago.
fue modificado por mí.
It says it was modified by me.
Debería cumplir esa condición.
So it should meet that condition.
Entonces vamos a ver si nos vamos a notificaciones.
So now I am going to go to the
Y normalmente
notifications
toma un tiempo que el proceso se ejecute.
folder. The process usually
Entonces
takes
esperemos
some
a ver
time
mientras
to
miramos aquí en
be executed, and then meanwhile, I'm going
My
to
Flows.
look
Miramos
in
si
my
ya se ha
flows
creado el flow.
to check that the flow has been created. It is this one.
Bueno, este fue uno que creé hace un día.
This one that was the one that I created
Y
yesterday.
vamos a ver, de pronto ya me salió acá.
And maybe we're gonna see if
Entonces
it's
aquí
already
en mis
appeared
teams
here. So here on my
dice
teams.
que yo a través de este robot llamado Flow
So here through this bot created flow, called flow, I
he
have
creado
notified in the following
el
way. The
documento de
file
productividad
called productivity has been created.
que era esta cartica que se llama
So
Hello
this was
y se debe
that
crear
little
un script
name
entonces
card,
abro la
and it has
aplicación
been created on this
en documentos
pathway or route that
si
is
alguien
shared documents
entonces
slash
pulgar
general slash
pulgar arriba
product
iría documentos
productividad
general productividad entonces sí
so we can see it's
documentos
here, and
general
we
productividad
documents
entonces
general
aquí
productivity, we
tengo
can see it
dentro
there.
del equipo
So that is a way in which the
notificado más
team is
constantemente
being
de la actividad de
notified
otros miembros del equipo.
constantly about the activity of other
Y
members of the
según
team.
el filtro se le puede dar importancia, sí, no,
And
y se
according to
le
the
alarma que
filter,
no me la notifique.
it can
Puede dar
be
importancia
assigned
o no.
importance to notify people or not, don't
Entonces
notify
si el equipo
people,
cambió,
or maybe the strategy of the team
puedo crear
changed.
un email
So you can
o
create an
crear un
email
archivo donde está la
or a
estrategia del equipo.
file where the new
Entonces aquí son
strategy
opcionales, se
is,
pueden
but maybe that's not enough for a remote
generar una
team. So maybe you
notificación
need to
automática para
generate
que la
an
gente sepa.
automated notification so the team is aware that the strategy
Eh,
changed.
Súper. Así como creé
Good.
esa
So in the
notificación,
same way I created this notice or
puedo ir
notification,
a templates
I can also go to
y
templates
puedo
again,
buscar
and I can
todo tipo de
seek
conexiones
for
entre
any kind of
diferentes
connections between applications.
Entonces, si yo quiero, por
So
ejemplo,
if I want, for
notificar al correo
example, to
electrónico
notify
de
to the
Microsoft,
email of Microsoft,
yo puedo acá buscar Outlook,
I can seek for
permito
Outlook.
que se cargue
I wait
y puedo
for
ver
a
el
while
listado
for all the
de conexiones.
possibilities of connections with Outlook to appear here. So for example, here there's a connection
Mm,
between Microsoft
Aquí
Teams
hay
and
una pregunta en el chat
Outlook. And there's a question in the chat here.
que de pronto esto la conteste. Por ejemplo, esta conexión
And maybe this will respond to that question.
de
So
la
what does
actividad,
this connection
entonces
mean?
lo primero que
The icon on the left is the trigger,
y lo de la derecha, que
and the icon on the right
que aparece, es a dónde
is
llegaría en este caso la
where
notificación.
the
Y en
notice
la
will
derecha
be sent to.
ya es más
And
claro. Entonces, por ejemplo,
the
esta es
description makes it
envíe un correo
clearer. So this
cuando
one is send an email when a new message is added
si se
in
agrega un nuevo
Microsoft
mensaje
Teams. So
en nuestra aplicación de Outlook,
whenever
¿verdad?
a new message is added here
Entonces,
on the app in the left, it will send an email in
eh,
Outlook. So that's an option, for example.
¿qué otras opciones hay?
What other
Vamos a hacer
options
una exploración
can we
cortica
find here? I'm gonna explore
y ya terminamos. Entonces, mira, aquí es
before we
envíe
finish. So
un correo,
here
por ejemplo.
it's the other way around, for example.
Aquí es, si sucede algo en Outlook,
If something
envíe
happens in
email,
Outlook,
entonces hazme una acción en Microsoft Teams. Entonces aquí sería al revés.
perform an
Envíe un
action on
email, pues hay
Microsoft Teams. So
templates.
it's the other way around. And there are many, many templates.
Digamos, está en la creatividad y en las necesidades de cada
It
quien
depends on the creativity and needs of any
de
person.
cómo usarlo. Veo que hablan de
How
apps
to use
gratuitas.
it.
Sí, mira, por ejemplo, aquí hay
I see
templates.
somebody mentions Google Apps.
Yo no
So
he
yes,
probado
here are
Google
some
Apps,
templates. I have
pero
not
no
tried
tengo
it
acceso a
because I
ellos.
do not have
Pero mira, por
access
ejemplo,
to those
este.
apps in this computer. But look at these templates.
Si alguien
For
pone un
example,
correo
if somebody
si alguien pone adjunto un archivo PDF
attaches
en un correo de
a
Gmail,
file on a Gmail
entonces guárdalo
email,
en Dropbox.
save it
Entonces
to
mira,
a Dropbox
lo voy a
folder.
hacer
So
igual.
here it
eh,
brings the options
para que
of,
funcione, pues tienes que
in order for it to
tener
work,
la
you
autorización
must sign in
en
or
cada una
authenticate in each of
de
those
estas aplicaciones. Y alguien me habla aquí de que si tiene que
apps.
crear
And
un
somebody
template.
says,
No, los templates es como la forma más
if
fácil.
like
Y ya si tú
if we
quieres
need to use the
explorar por
templates,
tu
but the
cuenta,
templates
ya
is the easiest way. But if you want to
haces
explore
create.
by yourself, you go to create.
Entonces, pues create,
So
tú puedes
in create,
escoger,
you can
digamos,
choose
uno de estos.
one of
Cloud
these
Flow,
automated cloud flow
le pones algún
or
nombre.
flows and you
eh,
add a name,
y
for
aquí ya nos
example,
demuestra
ejemplo.
por esa
And here,
especificación. Los templates están
given
restringidos
the
a una
templates
combinación.
were
Aquí
restricted
ya
to
ya
specific
nos puede
combinations, but here we do not have that restriction of combinations, but you can choose
cualquier que sea mi
what
aplicación
app
disparadora. Entonces
do I
aquí
want to be the
escojo
trigger.
Twitter.
So for example, Twitter,
Y ahí me sale Twitter. Entonces, si
and
tengo
here
cuenta en Twitter,
I find Twitter, and if something happens in Twitter,
eh, entonces al darle crear,
so when
ya
I
veo
click on create,
que ese disparador, ahorita
I
te
will
muestro,
find that my trigger
ya tengo que ese disparador va a ser
is
para
Twitter.
Twitter. Y
And
en los templates ya teníamos,
in
digamos,
the templates,
todo
we had
organizadito
everything already organized, so
pero
it
si
was
yo quiero
easier.
hacer
But if one
entonces voy
creates it
buscando
from scratch,
cómo poner
here we
new
should
steps.
put a new,
eh,
click on new step, and
entonces aquí en esto dice escoge una
here
operación.
we choose an
Entonces
operation.
igual escoja yo
So for
Excel,
example, I can choose Excel,
¿cierto? Y me da muchas opciones.
and it offers many options. So I can
Y aquí,
say,
por
for
ejemplo,
example,
como
if
estoy en
somebody
Twitter,
posts in Twitter,
que me cree una tabla,
I can ask him to create
¿sí?
a
Y
chart
tal vez después
and
de eso, bueno, aquí, como les
or a
digo,
spreadsheet. And after this,
no me puedo, digamos, autenticar en
I
esta parte porque
cannot
tendría que tener una aplicación
sign in these apps if I do not have an account.
ese flujo
Uh,
un
and I
disparador
won't do
para
it
mí
now, but I
sería
wanted to show you that this flow is a trigger that I can choose what app it is and then
ese disparador
to
que me
choose what should happen once it is triggered.
me lo muestra aquí en
And
varios.
I can add another app and I can add
Entonces
different
hay
steps as I
cosas
showed you here. There are
pues bastante
even
sofisticadas
things that are
como por
very
ejemplo
sophisticated. As you can see here, it
que la
says
inteligencia artificial
kind of
analice
things with artificial
tono
intelligence,
significativo en
such
texto.
as analyze positive or negative sentiment in text.
Entonces me podría decir, bueno, si alguien manda un tweet,
So if somebody sends a
pues
tweet,
borro esto.
maybe I will erase
Si
this.
alguien manda un tweet, analíceme si ese mensaje
Please, I can order it to analyze if somebody tweets, analyze if it is saying something that negative or positive about my company, for example. So it's really powerful because you can connect many apps. The last thing I wanted to show you, I'm gonna close flow. Let's go on now to projects. So the last thing I want to show you was the part of how to manage projects, at least from the perspective of, like, I am not the manager of my team. My manager is much more expert on how to manage a project and how to track all the tasks. But what I do as member of the team is to be aware of the times in which tasks should be fulfilled, and I'm also aware about which are the tasks that were specifically assigned to me, and when I have free time I can check the tasks that were assigned to other members of the team, for example. And all of this can be performed via MS projects. So MS project is here, uh, but we can also find it integrated within a team's team. So if I go to the productividad team, I told you that in Teams we can add many tabs, the chats file, the chats tab, the files tab, and we can create more tabs. So here, these tabs are going to correspond, as you're going to see, are going to correspond to different applications. So for example, there are many apps here that come from the Microsoft suite, even external apps such as YouTube. So here I can create a tab that is called, that is the project tab. I wait for it to upload. And while it uploads, I wanted to ask something to Daniela. I see we are 5 minutes to 10. And yes, and so I'm going to show this very fast and then we go to questions. Yes, so we have more or less 4 or 5 questions in the chat. I think they can be answered really fast and you have time to close, no problem. Good, so in projecting, I can create a new project. So let's put prepare, no, presentation, productivity presentation. That's going to be the name of the project. So I save it. And over here, I already find something. When I created it, I established to create a notice. This was not from via the bot, but this was because I put an option to notify when a project was created. So see how good this is. The whole team is going to be aware because it's integrated with Teams. If I click on here, it will take me to the tab of the project. It's taking some time to upload.
Un momento, por favor. Ya. Ya creo.
So give me a second, please. Okay, it's already created. Good. So a project is constituted by, or it comprises several tasks. So this is the view in a grid. So it is gonna comprise several tasks, and what I can do here is to create new tasks. So in order to prepare a productivity presentation, things that I can, that I'm doing in order to prepare it, where, for example, to send email to Daniela to know about topics of interest. And this is a funny team because I am the only member of the team. So this would be a task. If you click here on add somebody, you can, it would be a task added to me. And let's say that I am going to take, I don't think I want to take 1 day, but I'm going to put 1 day as an example. And so this is a way in which we can add tasks. Now I am going to I'm going to add another task. So look up for a picture for informational slide. And again, you can add here any person among the members of the team. And then again, a duration. And the last one, that is to review Power Automate topics. Let's see what happens if I do not assign the task to anybody, and I'm gonna put 3 days duration. So this is the grid view, but you can also have a board view. And this board helps us to categorize the tasks for, so this one can be the to-do category. Here we can add a category that is in process, and here we can have a new category called done. And so in this way you can move the tasks from one place to another, from one category to another. So when I start to seek for the picture, I move it here, you're going to see that the deadline was automatically created as today, but you can also create a different deadline, or if I'm gonna present next week, so I'm gonna change the deadline to Friday, for example. And I'm already doing it. I can open the task, and there are many more things that can be specified. So for example, we can specify the amount of effort required. So when I say that the duration is 1 day, it automatically states that the effort is 8 hours, and I can write down how many hours I have already invested and how many hours are missing. And besides this view of board, we have other views such as timeline that organizes them in time. So there's one for August the 30th, another one for September the 2nd. There is one here that goes parallel, and we can also generate dependencies by connecting them with arrows, so we can know which tasks go before which others, or are dependent on fulfilling others. And here we can also see the tasks left, so how many are uh, in the to-do list, how many are ongoing, and how many are done. And here it says that there is a person who has not started, but that would work 16 hours in these tasks. And finally, people shows all of the members of the team and what they are working in. Good. So with this, I finish with the presentation of the demos. So please share your questions.
Hola, Ciro. Buenísimo.
Hello,
Muchísimas
Ciro. Very good. Thanks a lot
por esta sesión.
for this session.
Veo algunas
And I
preguntas que
see
pueden estar
some
pasando.
questions.
Digamos, las voy a leer en orden
and I'm going to read them as they arrived. So Elizabeth Gonzalez asked, hi, how do we manage working in the changes and making them automated on the server, and that can also be worked from the
Me imagino que los
desktop
cambios se
versions?
refiere
Well, I
a
imagine that when you
Laura,
talk about changes,
me confirma.
do you mean, are you talking about Power Automate?
Una app, ¿sí?
If you did something on an app, notify about a change? Yes, I think yes, because it this question was
Ah,
asked at
exacto.
9:24 a.m.
Sí,
and
bueno,
we were
entonces
talking about that
ellos
tool.
son,
Well, yes, the changes.
a ver, me pasa uno aquí
Let me
en
come back
PowerPoint.
here to Power
Eh,
Automate.
los cambios son
So the
muchos de ellos
changes
son
on certain
automáticos, como
tasks
en la
are
medida
automated,
que yo
such as
hice,
in the
que
task
era
that I
el
did. That
de
was
notificar
this
si alguien sube
task
una cosa,
of notifying if
entonces
somebody uploads a
luego
file. So then
Power ya
when
sabía
a file is uploaded, Power
que
Automate
tenía
already
que
knew
hacerlo.
how to execute that action.
También puede ser,
And it can also be,
ese era el que se llama
that was the one called
Cloud, Automated Cloud
Automated
Flow.
Cloud Flow.
Hay otros, por ejemplo, tú lo puedes
There
programar
are
con un
others
determinado
that you
tiempo.
can program with a certain timing,
Hay uno que es
scheduled
instantáneo,
cloud
que es
flow.
esto
And
lento,
there is an
y
instant cloud flow. And if you
que
read here,
se
it is
ejecuta
something
manualmente.
that
Así,
is
por ejemplo,
manually
hay
triggered
un
as
botón
needed.
y
So,
la
for
persona
example,
que
you
usa
have a
ese
button,
botón,
and the person who
esa
uses that
persona
button, for example, a person
tal
who
vez
needs, for
mostrar
example, to
un
show,
poco anticuado, pero bueno,
this is kind of
una persona
antique
que
or old, but
salió.
they want to
Entonces
show
ellos van a
when
saber
they
dónde
came
está
into work and when
el
they
viernes. Entonces,
came out from
a partir
work.
de ahí, eso lo que haría sería
So when you press the button,
ese registro.
that would
Entonces
record
eso ya es
that
como automático
the registry or the record of the
Cloud.
time. So that's automatic in cloud. So Elizabeth says that she means, she's talking about the changes or the attached files.
Archivos adjuntos.
Attached file.
Bueno, ya
Oh,
entendí.
I already understand. I think I already
En ese
understand.
caso,
So in that case,
habría que buscar en los
when
templates.
should need to use in the templates,
Entonces, yo recuerdo que yo había buscado SharePoint,
I remember I seeked for a SharePoint
Teams,
Teams.
digamos. Habría que buscar en los
So
templates.
we should need
Entonces,
to
mira que
look
aquí hay
up in
varios.
the template. So
Por ejemplo,
here
cuando
there
un
are
documento
several. So
es
when a document is
eh, cargado,
uploaded,
a ver, cuando algún documento se mueve de una
when a
carpeta a otra,
document moves from one
mm,
file to another,
y
from
aquí,
one
por ejemplo,
folder to
tenemos uno que
another,
podría servir que es
or here that is to post a
enviar un
message to
mensaje
Microsoft Teams
para
for a selected
un
item.
ítem específico que está seleccionado. Y si no lo encuentras a
And
través
if you don't find it through
em, de los templates,
the
entonces lo
templates,
que puedes hacer es explorar
then
desde
what you
Create
can do is to explore
todos
from
estos
Create
triggers que estén
to
asociados a
explore
SharePoint.
all the triggers
Y allí
associated to SharePoint.
em,
And there
puedes encontrar, por ejemplo, triggers que
you
están
can
asociados
find,
con
for
los
example,
archivos
triggers
modificados. Creo que eso es lo
when
que ella decía.
a
Digamos,
file is modified. I think that's what
Daniela
Elizabeth meant.
cambia ese archivo que
For
está
example, if Daniela comes in and
en
shares
diseño.
and changes the
Entonces,
file that I created,
la nota le
writes
dice,
something
mira,
inside
un
it,
poquito
for
más
example, then a notice will be created. So it will be
tal vez
more
se los puedas enviar
personalized
directamente.
or tailored than the
¿No
templates
te
that I
gusta
see here
modelar en
directly.
escritorio?
And they ask something about the desktop versions. So the question is,
Sí.
how can we manage working on changes to make them
Digamos que
automated on the server and that they can also be
digamos
worked
que el Teams
from
que yo
the
tengo abierto aquí es la versión de
desktop
escritorio, no la
versions.
web.
So the team I have here
Pero
is the
Power
desktop
Automate,
version, is not the web version. And
sí,
Power
por ejemplo,
Automate
sí,
also has a desktop version.
creo que cuando yo busco acá, tan fácil Sí, entonces Power Automate tiene
Yes, so Power Automate has an app for desktop, and the SharePoints. For example, if I have the files on my desktop, I created this one, Productividad. So what's going to happen is that if I attach a file in my desktop, it is synchronized in the cloud, and the flow is already configured in order to generate a notice when this happens. So it's all integrated.
Buenísimo.
Very good. So
Bueno, una pregunta sencilla de Saifa.
now a question from Saida
¿Está en
is,
español?
is Power Automate in Spanish?
Power Automate está en español. La verdad,
Power Automate. I really don't know, but I know that the documents, let me go into documentation. In the documentation of Microsoft, I'll show you very fast what I did is to go to learn. And in the documentation of Microsoft, all of the documents, you can change, select the language for each. And I would believe that the apps are also in Spanish, as we all have used Excel or Word in Spanish. This one should also be in Spanish, but given that this computer I'm working in is configured in English, therefore I haven't explored if it works in Spanish. But for example, the documentation here, you can choose it in Spanish and you can see it displays everything in Spanish. And here, for example, to create the first flow. So here it says receive an email push notification for every file created in OneDrive. So it seems to be that this is just in English, but the documentation is in Spanish. And using the documentation in Spanish can help you a lot to follow the step-by-step of what you need. Very good. Now, Tanya asks if this Power Automate program, if people can access or can use it just by having a Microsoft license, or if they should acquire it or purchase it additionally. Well, Microsoft has different licenses. I remember when I was in college, we had student licenses, which allowed for 4 apps. Then when I worked on a company, those licenses had already 7 apps, etc. So in the company I'm working right now, that's Microsoft, you saw that I could access to many different apps by using my account. So what I recommend there is to go to the documentation or ask for advice if you have a contact with Microsoft that can be of the marketing area. You can ask them for advice. And you can see there are options. For example, we can register for free in Automate over here. That would be the first point to try it. You can have a free test, and then after it, you will learn about the kind of licenses that you can acquire, and that you can train for free and try it and see what benefits it brings, and then find out more about the licenses. Excellent. Another question about the tool of Power Automate. Can it be connected to Google Drive and to an Excel? Yes. I'm still sharing my screen. Aren't I? Yes. Good. So
Sí, entonces cuando tú buscas en los templates puedes ver
when
varias
you
opciones
seek
de
in the
acceso
templates, you can
con
see
Google Drive.
different options. With Google Drive, you can see the
Conectar.
icon here. So you can see many options about how to connect with Drive.
Si no lo encuentras en los
If
templates,
you do not find it on the templates, then
lo que puedes hacer es ir a
what
crear
you can do is to go to
y ahí lo
create,
encuentras buscando
and
por
there you can
Office,
seek
encuentras o buscando por
Office
Excel, encuentras todas
or
las
seek for
herramientas
Excel,
relacionadas
and
a
you can
Excel
find all the
y
triggers
luego buscando por
related to
Google Drive
Excel.
encuentras todas las acciones relacionadas
And looking for Google Drive, you will
con
find
Google
all
Drive.
of the
Entonces,
actions
los
related to
ejemplos
Google Drive.
que veo es que puedes
For
conectar
example, here I see something says, for
tu
example, you
trabajo
can
está en la nube de Microsoft
connect
con la
your
nube de Drive.
Microsoft Cloud with the Drive
¿Dónde está por
Cloud.
aquí? Sí, la verdad hay muchos
So
y
there are
sería
actually many
echarle un explorar porque hay
possibilities.
muchos casos de usos personales.
Fantástico.
So it's
Y
good to
terminando
explore
con
about the
nuestras
many different
preguntas,
cases of
tenemos unas
personal
que
use.
podrían
So
resumir,
now
unas son de
there are
los
two
principales de los que
questions
hemos
that can be
visto.
summarized in one from Lorena Lascano and Elizabeth
Estas decían
Enriquez. They ask whether
para accesar
in order
para
to
accesar
access or
todo en
use
cuentas de
this
Microsoft,
program,
se puede hacer con cuentas
should
corporativas
everybody have a
solamente.
Microsoft account or can it
Y
work with corporate accounts that do
qué
not belong
pasaría
to
cuando se
Microsoft?
quisiera, por
And
ejemplo,
what happens
incluir, por
if
ejemplo, a las
we want to
personas
add
que no son parte de la
people
empresa,
to a
pero sí
team which are
están
not part of the company but do have teams in
Ah,
Microsoft?
ya.
Okay,
Bueno, en ese caso, por
so
ejemplo,
in that case,
en
for
Teams
example,
uno puede
I
invitar
know that in
invitados,
Teams we can have
así no
guests,
sean de la empresa, tener
even if they
invitados
do not
fijos.
belong to the company. We can have guests to the
Eh,
teams. So,
Pasa
for
mucho en empresas
example,
que hay
in
empleados,
companies,
digamos, directos,
i- there are
y a veces hay empleados
often there are direct
externos de la
employees and
empresa que
sometimes
pueden
there
acceder.
are external
Entonces ahí podemos
employees from third
configurar
parties.
el equipo de Teams, por ejemplo,
So what we need to
para
do
que
here is
vaya
to configure the
usando
team's
ese
team
formato
to
el
include
concreto.
those persons by using
La
their
persona que
respective emails, and the person who configures the
la
flow,
persona que ponga las
so the
condiciones,
person
etcétera,
that
etcétera,
sets the conditions, etc.,
sí tendría que tener una licencia, digamos,
should
de Power
have
Automate, o sea,
a
de
Power
aplicación
Automate license,
usada para crear el flujo, que es
which is
Power
the app
Automate.
used to create the flow. But
Las cuentas,
the accounts,
y les muestro tal vez aquí con un ejemplo
and I can
concreto,
show you here with an
las
example,
cuentas que
the
creamos para
accounts
las
that
notificaciones no
create
tienen que ser cuentas
notifications should not be
de
or
Microsoft
don't
necesariamente.
have no
Por
need of
ejemplo,
being from Microsoft.
cuando estábamos viendo un
For
ejemplo
example, when
de
we
Twitter,
saw what would happen with Twitter,
un momento aquí que cargue, veíamos que cada aplicación nos pedía autenticarnos con la
we saw
credencial de
that
esa aplicación.
every app asks
Entonces,
for us to sign in with the
Twitter requiere
credentials of the specific
las
app.
cuentas
So
de Microsoft para autenticarse a las aplicaciones
in order to sign in
las
to the
acciones
apps needed,
o
you do
los
not need
la
specific
persona que cree los flujos sí tiene que
accounts in Microsoft.
tener
However, the
o estar
person who is
en un equipo
creating
de
the
Microsoft o
flows
ya tener
should be
cuentas
working from a test license or a
de
purchased
Microsoft.
license from
Y por
Microsoft.
ejemplo en un equipo de Teams tú puedes
And
agregar
for example, on a Teams
externos
team,
también.
you can add external emails. You can do that.
Fantástico. Em, bueno, recibimos una última pregunta. ¿Hay
Oh,
posibilidad?
we will check a last
Bueno,
question,
sí,
which
sí la
says,
puedo
well, I
responder.
think I can even answer it now with what I've heard. And given that we are already about to finish
Creo
the
que no
session,
tenemos tiempo adicional, entonces
and I
nos
think we do
quedó
not have additional time for interpretation, but I think
adicionales,
we cannot see
pero
additional tools now.
básicamente
But this
nuestras
suggestion
preguntas las
of
podemos
Fuda's
volver a
company, I
presentar
know
juntas.
it from
Debemos
our
revisar
Growing
el
Together
Telegram.
tool to
La vamos a
see the
tener muy en cuenta
Telegram
para revisar si es posible
tool. We're gonna
hacer un evento
take into
adicional.
account and we're gonna check if we can do an additional event for
Entonces,
this.
con
So
este
I think
tiempo
that with
le damos
this,
fin también a
by
nuestro
finishing these questions, we will always also bring
muchísimas, muchísimas
today's
gracias
event to
por
an
darnos
end.
toda
So
esta información
Ciro,
compartida.
thanks a lot
Nosotros
for all
lo que
the
queremos
information you
es
shared,
apoyar a
and
nuestros participantes
We almost reached 100 participants along the whole event. You had a great audience, and it was steady throughout the event. This is not common. Usually some people drop off throughout the way. So this means that this information is very valuable and useful for the business women who are connected with us today. Thanks a lot, of course, to Microsoft for making this session possible. Microsoft is a strategic partner of the program Growing Together in the Americas. Thanks to all for being connected today. And this recording is going to be available in the Connect Americas platform and in our YouTube channel. So don't worry for that. And we will share the links with the people who registered to today's event so you can have it at hand. Thanks a lot to everybody. We will be in touch. Have a great Tuesday and a great week. Thank you very much.
So
Bye bye.